delighted to introduce Veronika Kolesnikova. And she is a longtime Microsoft MVP and speaker at our many events.
Hi, Alicia. It's so good to be here and so good to see you.
Hi, Veronika. Welcome.
Thank you.
Is this your first virtual event for the summer, or have you been busy?
I've been really busy. I'm planning to present at a first in-person event actually this summer. So I'm really excited to see people in real life again.
Oh yeah. So I do have your handle, your Twitter handle, and your webpage. So I'll go ahead and scroll that while you're talking, and people can go ahead and take a look. And do you mind sharing what event you're speaking at in person?
Yes, definitely. Everything that was mentioned during the keynote, that's important for everyone. That's why we're all doing it, to share knowledge, to get that interaction with people, to meet people from all over the world, get questions, answer questions, ask questions, get ideas from people, and maybe collaborate. And it's just amazing to be surrounded by people with different interests, different backgrounds, and from everywhere in the world.
Well, I'm excited, and I know everybody's excited to hear more about Bot Composer. So I'll go ahead and let you get started. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I can see my presentation right here, and that's a good sign that I can start actually. So today we'll be talking about bots, how to create bots, how to work with bots, what are the bots, and the most important part is how to use a bot composer to create and work with bots. And here you can see my name, Veronika Kolesnikova, and my Twitter handle. So feel free to follow me there, ask me questions, DM me, and I'll be happy to help you. So before we move forward, let me introduce myself really quick. Again, my name is Veronika Kolesnikova. You can see it on your screen as well in a couple of places. I am twice Microsoft MVP in AI. I have a master's degree in information technology. I started my career as a quality assurance engineer, and then I moved to development. I used to work mostly with Microsoft technologies like C#, .NET, Xamarin. Obviously, I love machine learning and artificial intelligence. And recently, I started working more with Node.js and Java, and my hobbies are dancing, traveling, and aerial yoga. So now let's finally move to the content. And before we dive deep into the composer, I want us to set up that baseline and altogether understand what is a bot. There's so many different definitions of a bot. The one that I personally like, it's a software or application, whatever you call it, that can actually understand what your user wants, and based on that can provide some specific answers or perform some kind of actions. And that understanding part is what actually makes the bot smart. Next, I want to ask you a controversial question. And it's easy to ask questions when we are face to face, but now I just want you to think about it. Is a bot the same as virtual assistants? Are they different? I had lots of conversations with my colleagues with people from the community, and they all have different perspectives. So if you have your own opinion, definitely feel free to share it with me, tweet at me, DM me, let me know. I'm really interested. I personally think that bot is the same as virtual assistant. In the core of every virtual assistant skill, there is a bot. And if you are using Microsoft tools and you are creating a bot using offerings on Azure, you have that option to connect your bot to different channels. And so several of those channels are related to virtual assistants, like Cortana and Alexa. So I think virtual assistant skill is sometimes more advanced bot, but it's still a bot. And here I also have a couple of examples of bots. I already mentioned Cortana, some Syrian Cortana bots, and also Microsoft Clippy. I'm sure we all remember Clippy and miss it dearly. Smarter Child, I actually didn't have a chance to use it. And then who can forget about Tay? If you haven't heard about Tay, let me tell you really quick that story. Microsoft released Tay on Twitter several years ago, and Tay was actually it was a bot, and it was learning live from tweets, and it was a disaster. Actually, within a couple of hours, it started tweeting really inappropriate tweets. It was taken down by Microsoft. On one hand, it was an embarrassment probably to put a name behind it, your name behind that bot. On the other hand, it's a good learning opportunity, not only for Microsoft, but also for all of us. So we all understand that in the core of every bot, we have machine learning. And if you are not filtering out the data that you are feeding to your machine learning model that you're then using in a bot, then your bot can become a disaster. So data is very important. Definitely make sure that your data is clean, it's appropriate, and if you want to have that effective and really useful bot, then definitely make sure your data is correct. Okay, so now we have that baseline about bots, and I want to move to the ways you can create bots. There are so many different ways. All those big companies like Google and Amazon and Microsoft, they all have so many different offerings for all kinds of developers. It doesn't matter what kind of language you're using. If you prefer a no-code, low-code options, there are so many different offerings, and you probably guessed from my slide here, I'm going to talk specifically about Microsoft offerings today. Otherwise, it would take me like half of the day just to name all the offerings out there. So let's start with the Bot Framework SDK. That SDK is actually in the core of all Microsoft offerings related to bots. It is also available for everyone to get. So if you are really experienced bot developer, or you just want to have your hands dirty and jump into building bots from scratch, you can definitely use bot framework. You just open up your Visual Studio or whatever ID you're using, downloading that NuGet package with the SDK, getting connected, and just building your bot from scratch. Next here is Azure Web App Bot or Azure Bot. That is tricky. Why have two of them here? Initially, I have experience working with Azure Web App Bots. I created a lot of those throughout years, but maybe a couple of years. And that was the main offering from Azure that I was using. But when I was preparing for this presentation, I actually noticed that Azure Web App Bot would be deprecated. I think it is not coming like tomorrow, but probably it will be soon. I don't remember the date. I think it was September date. So definitely make sure that you double check and you make sure that everything is connected and up to date and supported for you. If you want to, if you're working on a completely new bot from scratch, I definitely recommend you use an Azure bot resource on Azure. That is really similar to Azure Web App Bot, but it creates just a completely blank bot resource. But the interesting part is that you can connect that resource right to your bot composer and then add all the functionality there, connect to different cognitive services right in your composer. So those two offerings are working together. So definitely don't afraid to use Azure Bot, and especially after we talk about the composer in more details, you'll be more confident using the composer. Next one is Azure Bot channels registration. It is a part of the Web App Bot or Azure Bot. So it's right there in that resource. I'll show you in Azure later. That is just basically you can create it actually as a separate resource, or you can use it inside that Azure Bot resource. And basically, you are able to connect your bots to different channels. You just need to be mindful how your users are going to interact with your bot. If you are implemented only text input, but you connected it to a channel where users prefer to interact with the bot through speech, then it can be a big problem. Here on the left, you can see some of the channels that you can connect to, like Telegram and Teams, Skype, Alexa, Cortana, lots of opportunities there. So I definitely recommend to check it out and be ready to connect to those channels. Next one is Azure Health Bot. That offering actually changed the name so many times, but I think that's the latest name, Azure Health Bot. It's available on Azure, as you probably guessed. It is focused on healthcare, so it already has a level of intelligence integrated, which allows your users to connect with health providers, to maybe figure out some recommendations for doctors, what kind of doctor should be seen with these symptoms and other symptoms, and also automatically out of the box how HIPAA compliant. It's not a completely 100% done and finished bot. It's a really solid solid base for your healthcare related bot. So if you're building a solution for healthcare, definitely check it out. It's a good option there. Let me go one back. Power Virtual Agent, that is part of the Power Platform. So it's a low code, no code option. You don't have to be a developer to actually use Power Virtual Agent. It is mostly drag and drop there. You can type some text right on the screen, really visual. The fun part there is that you can actually create your bot there. You can test your bot right inside Power Virtual Agent portal. So they have separate portal, and then you can export that agent and either connect it to a different bot or as and create some kind of network there, or you can actually continue working with it, adding some code, adding specific capabilities, using the composer. And now, finally, I mentioned the composer so many times, but finally we got to the composer. Composer is a new offering from Microsoft. I saw a couple of presentations. Gary Pretty from Microsoft is talking a lot about the composer. So if you have a chance, definitely check his sessions. He shows some things that we are talking today in more details. But Bot Composer is basically the whole IDE for all your bot needs. You can test there, you can develop your bot. They have so many templates, but let's move forward and talk more about the structure of your bot. So here you can see a slide. It says virtual assistant, but I think I already told you that I think bot is the same as virtual assistant. In the core, we have that bot framework, which can be used separately or it's automatically integrated inside, for example, Azure Bot. You can connect it to different machine learning models or cognitive services like speech, Q&A maker, language understanding intelligence service. You can also connect it to different channels, and here you can see some options available. I already mentioned the inputs, so definitely make sure that your channels are correlated with the inputs, and you always can have several options for inputs like type in, meaning text, speech, or adaptive cards and other opportunities there, and connect it to different devices. You can use your bot on mobile devices, on websites, inside your cars, inside specific virtual assistant devices. There are lots of opportunities there. And to the right of that core, you can see that you can connect it to different knowledge sets, like general knowledge and different databases, PDFs, and lots of other options. Then you can connect to third-party assistants. I already mentioned the Power Virtual Agent. You can create maybe different bots. If you have a big team and then you have huge project that connect several bots together, maybe some people can create a bot using Power Virtual Agent, and then others can use the Bot Framework SDK. And then since you are learning about the Composer, you can use Composer to create it, and then you can connect all those different bots into one big network of bots, so they can pass requests and information between each other, and start and end process. So it will be completely seamless for your users. In addition, here you can customize some skills. You can allow your bot to send emails. As I mentioned in the beginning, perform any kind of tasks, like call other bots, which I already mentioned, create events in calendar, connect to different APIs, and Active Directory. So the fun part, lots of information about the Bot Composer, what you can do using the Composer, and you truly can do a lot of things, and I will show you some of those things in details during the demo. But let's go through this slide first. Using the Bot Composer, you can create a new bot using templates. There are so many different templates available. Now they are supporting C#, and I believe Node.js is in preview. So for now, they're just focusing on C# developers. If you are one, then you are already in luck, and you can use the Bot Composer right away. You can create a completely empty bot using the Composer. There are several solutions for that are specifically targeting virtual assistants. But you can always start from scratch, create your own template, and then save it there. So totally up to you. Next one, you can add a natural language understanding capabilities like Q&A Maker and Lewis. Lewis is really popular, and actually, if you're using several models there, for example, you're using several Lewises and then a couple of Q&A Makers, when you have several natural language understanding capabilities integrated in your bot, you need to make sure that you have an orchestrator which will automatically figure it will automatically be figuring out what piece of that language understanding network that you have should be connected, and where should users utterance be passed, and which piece will actually process it and return information back, answer a question, or perform a task. Next one, you can author text and if needed speech variation, so you can connect to different languages, and you can use SSML if you are already working with text to speech and speech to text. You probably know about SSML. It's really big in virtual assistant skills development, in voice processing solutions. So definitely check it out. And if you worked with speech offerings from cognitive services, then you probably know that they have so many different voices available there. Some of them are more natural sounding, and they call them neural voices. Some of them are less natural, but they are pretty good. They have different genders and dialects, and also languages, obviously. So I slowly move to the next point there. So you can use different languages, whether you use text or speech or both. Then you can test directly inside the bot composer. So you don't need to publish your bot and then check it in another tool and then figure out what is working and what is not working. And the lengthy process of deploying and testing and figuring out and debugging, that might take a lot of time. But when you have everything in one tool, then it is definitely very helpful, saves you time, saves you energy, and time is important. And then next one here is publish. So you can publish your bot right from your bot composer. And I already mentioned that you can create Azure bot first and then connect it to your composer, and then inside the composer you can actually build the bot. But you can go other way and start building your bot inside the composer and then connect it to Azure. So it's totally up to you. If you are doing Azure first, then it's already connected, so it knows where to publish. But if you start in with the composer first approach, then you need to actually connect it to your Azure subscription, choose a resource or create a new one, and then it will be able to publish there. Next one here is extending. You can extend your bot with Power Virtual Agent, or vice versa. You can actually either create Power Virtual Agent and then export it and connect to your bot inside the composer, or just work with that Power Virtual Agent extended inside the composer. Or you can do other ways, create a bot inside the composer, and then you'll be able to export it and then connect to Power Virtual Agent. But that is still in preview, so definitely keep your eyes open and follow the news. And the last one here is integration. You can integrate external services such as Q&A Maker, knowledge base, and as I showed in the previous slide, You can connect to different APIs, connect to maybe some third-party tools, and just go crazy there. So, okay, now we got to the most fun part, the demo. Let me actually switch to the demo. And so here you can, yeah, so here you can see my composer bot that I created. I want to show you everything that has been created. So what I did initially, I created a resource group. If you are familiar with Azure environment, then you know that you can create a resource and connect it to, add it to a resource group, or you can create a resource group first and then can add resources to it. So the resource that I added was that Azure bot. I already mentioned that I tried to do the web app bot, but then I realized that it is going to be deprecated. So I created the composer bot. Everything else wasn't created. But when I went inside that resource, I saw that really cool button, Open in Composer. So they are connected automatically. You don't need to export the code and then import it to Composer, do any manual labor. You just click that Open in Composer. If you have Composer installed, then it will be able to connect. You need to set up some settings, choose a template, because the Azure bot is different from Azure Web App Bot. Inside the Azure Web App Bot, you were able to kind of set up the template. So if you remember, there were two opportunities there. You could create an echo bot that would just repeat whatever your user typed, or you could add really basic Lewis there, and so you were not completely starting from blank. But since we have the composer and we have that link to go to the composer, the Azure bot resource is completely empty, doesn't have anything by default. So if you go to test and web chat, it won't be it won't show anything meaningful there. Even the usual window that shows the chat, you won't be able to see it there because it's completely blank. But here you have different channels. I wanted to show you those channels before we move to the composer. So we're not changing the context. And you can see, so the web chat is connected by default. Why I have one issue? Because I haven't deployed my bot that I opened in the composer here. So I don't have anything deployed. It's completely empty. It's just basically a shell of a bot. That's why it shows the issue, and the issue is that nothing is there. But so here I want to show you that new channels preview. You have options to connect to all those channels, like Alexa, direct line speech, just direct line. So if you are really interested in those channels, definitely check it out. They have great documentation about specific of those channels. But since we are focusing on the composer, I want to go to the composer. I'm not going to click on open in composer because I already have it open. Initially, when you are clicking on open in composer, you won't see all that fancy stuff since it's completely empty. But you'll see the home screen here, and it will offer you to create a new bot using that resource. You can use a template, or you can create a completely blank one. And as I mentioned before, if you are starting development from the composer and not from Azure, then you have that create new button here. So you can create a new bot, which can be completely empty, connected to Lewis, connected to Q&A Maker. There are several options there, and you can see their resources and GitHub, so you are not alone. People are working on it constantly. The community is amazing. They are willing to answer questions. They're super helpful. Documentation. I keep repeating in every session that Microsoft documentation is just amazing, and I truly mean that, because I checked documentation from other companies, and it is not that detailed, and sometimes it's really hard to find anything, but here it's like right here, and they have detailed instructions on what you need to do. So once you created your bot and set up a template. I use the Core Assistant template. You can see the location. So you are not only getting connection visually here in the Composer, you are also getting the whole code available. So if you want to go in more details there, you want to write some custom functionality, you love to write code, that's not a problem, it's a good thing. You can always open that in Visual Studio, add some functionality, remove some stuff, customize it even more. It is all available, and it looks as any other bot solution that you developed before. So here I want to show you you can always add a new bot, you can connect a skill, you can add it. So that is just a Core Assistant, but you can do, you can create a new trigger, you can add a knowledge base, so there are lots of different opportunities there. I want to show you something about responses. So if you click on the response, you can see that it has an attachment. It's a hero card. You can add your own attachments there. So they will be displayed for your users. And those attachments, though they can be interactive, they can have links. So it's totally up to you what you want to show your users. But also, when you are creating a response, there are other options available, like text. And when you write text, you can provide several options. So your bot won't respond to same question or similar question in the same way over and over again. I know some people, they are using bots a lot, and at some point it just gets annoying when it responds the same thing over and over. But when you are adding a variety there, it will randomly pick a response. So that's really cool. You can add speech, and you can use SSML. You can, if you are using Lewis, then you can use those entities from Lewis right here. Let me actually show you something. So when you add in a new response and it's text, you can add different references. For example, if you want to repeat your user's name, then you can grab it from conversation. So it can be more personal. Their conversation is remembered. And then you can redirect to different templates that you created, different functions. You have collections. You can connect to entities that you created inside Lewis. So good options there. For speech, you can set up speech using SSML. The input hint, you can change the hints, the type of personality that it has, that your bot has, and then you can write, you can actually just choose the tag that you want to use here. And the show code thing is really useful. So if you are using Visual Studio and you are used to using Visual Studio for creating your bots, uh, then you don't need to switch the context. If you want to try small things, if you want to do some little tweaks, you don't need to switch back and forth and save it everywhere. You can just do it here. And then important thing that I want to show you, there are lots of settings available, and there are just a lot of things that you can do inside the composer. So I'm not gonna show you everything. Unfortunately, we are really tight on time, and I definitely want to answer your questions. So here you can actually see the start command in case you want to start it using using like a terminal if you are on Mac, or using command line. Then another cool thing, you have all those user inputs and then responses all in one place in case you want to quickly update some of them. You can publish it right here. You can see that it is not connected right now. I don't have a publishing profile set up, but once I set it up, it can be published wherever you want. And then another cool thing, which is pretty new, is a package manager. So you can create a package and then connect it right here. That's why I call it IDE for bots. You can connect to different NuGet packages. You can add new feeds. You can add a different package here. If you exported your Power Virtual Agent as a package, you can also add it here and then use it. Here you have that start bot functionality where you can start the bot and test it right here, or you can use the emulator if that's more convenient for you and you're used to emulator. Yeah, so I think that's a really quick overview of the tool. I know there are so many different options there, so definitely feel free to install it, check it out, connect to your Azure bot resource. And if you have any questions later, definitely feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or on LinkedIn. If you're trying to reach out on LinkedIn, definitely let me know how you found me. And I am ready to answer questions if you have any questions right now.
Thanks, Veronika. And that was a lot about one of the newest offerings around the bots. So it's kind of interesting because I am very partial to cognitive services. So what cognitive services does the bot composer work with?
Oh, it can work with all kinds of cognitive services. Some of those are more preferable. Like Lewis is really popular. I think it's like the main cognitive service that is a must for every bot. I personally love it a lot. And Q&A Maker, that's a little, I would call it easier to use. But they are similar but a little different, so it's totally up to developers to choose which one they prefer, which one they're comfortable with. And also, you know, other services like vision services, if your bot has access to camera, or it can use optical character recognition, so a user can maybe upload a picture with text, and then it can understand the text from the picture. There are so many different opportunities, so I think all cognitive services can be used inside a bot.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I enjoy about the cognitive services is that they are so easy to use and integrate with applications. So for somebody just getting started with with bots and cognitive services, do you have a few resources that you generally point people to get started?
Yes, so Microsoft has great documentation. I mentioned it in my session. So once you decide to install the Composer, there is a link to documentation right there, to GitHub with some examples. If you are not ready to go forward with the Composer and you just want to learn a little more about bots, just go to Microsoft Learn. They have good courses there. And also you can just go ahead and check the documentation, because it's great and it's good. It has good structure and good examples there.
Now, tell me a little bit more about the Composer. Does the bot framework emulator work with the Composer, and can the Composer be customized?
Yes, so it's a huge question, actually, and I can see two parts there. So first, about the emulator, yes, you can use the emulator. So when you are clicking on that start button, there are two options that you can use. You can either use web chat inside the Composer itself, or you can open it in emulator. So it will be opened automatically inside emulator.
Okay.
It's still usable there. And then, yes, to customize the Composer, you can actually write custom code and make the Composer more suitable for your personal preferences, add functionality there. It is available. I know it's limited. I haven't tried it myself, but I've heard that that was an option too.
Fantastic. And I'm seeing in a lot of customer sites that, you know, people are looking at hybrid design patterns and hybrid architecture. So is this something that you can host on-prem as well as in the cloud?
Yes, so I showed an option to connect it to Azure. Since those are all Microsoft technologies, it's easy to integrate them together, but you don't have to host your bot in the cloud. You can, first of all, you can host it in any cloud. It doesn't have to be Azure. It just adds a little layer of effort on top of it. But at the same time, if you prefer to do that, you can do that, or host it on premises. It's not a requirement to host it in the cloud. It solves some of the issues, but I know it depends on what kind of company and what kind of commitment with the cloud versus on-premise they have. So it's definitely an option.
Well, I want to encourage everyone to take a look at Veronika's blog. I'll go ahead and scroll that through the screen again. And she's got great content on there. I saw you have some exam tips. You've got some recommendations on working with .NET Studio. So I think, you know, whatever part of the spectrum you're at, if you're at the developer phase or you're in the AI data scientist phase, there's a lot of content on her blog that can help you with your journey. And again, Veronika is fantastic within the global AI community. She's always participating, and I truly enjoy having you be part of our event. So definitely looking forward to you at your next session with us, Veronika.
Thank you, Alicia. I really appreciate you having me here, and I'm always happy to be a part of global AI events.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Now we're on to our next session, and we'll be speaking with Fergus Kidd on thinking machines and Azure digital twins. Now, Fergus is a friend of mine who gets to play with all the latest and greatest tools and technologies, and I wish I had access to his Christmas tree. Pretty sure that everything he gets is amazing.